If I were to ask you right now to just, drop a pin on a map, point to the most absolutely efficient factory workers in the developing world, where are you going?
Oh, most people would say Southeast Asia, Vietnam, maybe Bangladesh.
Right. Or Latin America, like Mexico?
Exactly. It's the intuitive answer. Any seasoned economist would give you that answer without even blinking,
But according to the data we're unpacking today, you would be totally wrong. Because the data says you need to drop that pin in sub-Saharan Africa.
which is just, I mean, it completely shatters decades of established economic theory.
It really does. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are looking at a massive, groundbreaking study. It's essentially a data heist that takes everything we thought we knew about an entire continent and flips it upside down.
And we really need to set the stage here. Between 1970 and 2000, sub-Saharan Africa's GDP grew at an agonizingly slow pace, like 0.5% a year.
A complete economic black hole. That was the global consensus, right? Just a lost cause.
Yeah, literally called the hopeless continent in major financial magazines. People thought the environment and the businesses were just fundamentally broken.
But what if that diagnosis wasn't just a little bit off, but entirely backward? What if African manufacturing businesses actually have a built-in efficiency advantage, and what if they actually outpace the rest of the world?
That is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We're getting past the sad stories. We're looking at the raw, micro-level mechanics of African business.
And we have an incredibly dense source for this. This isn't some fringe blog post.
Oh, not at all. We're talking about top-tier scholars. Annie Harrison, Dean of the Wharton School, Justin Yifu Lin, former chief economist of the World Bank, and Colin Xu, a senior researcher at the World Bank.
Heavy hitters. When they team up, you kind of have to pay attention.
You definitely do. And they didn't just look at fuzzy macro numbers. They went straight to the factory floor. They pulled data from about 12,000 formal manufacturing firms across 80 different countries.
12,000 factories. That scale is insane.
It's massive. They used World Bank enterprise surveys. So these are highly detailed questionnaires filled out by the actual managers running these places.
But wait, how do you even compare that fairly? Like, you can't compare a textile mill in rural Kenya to a Silicon Valley microchip plant, right?
No, of course not. You have to compare apples to apples. So they specifically isolated African firms and matched them against firms in other countries with similar income levels.
So countries with a GDP per capita under $3,000.
Exactly. They created a peer group of non-African countries under that threshold to see how Africa truly stacks up against parts of Southeast Asia or Latin America.
Okay, so we're playing the same economic sport. But before we get to the big miracle they found, we have to look at the unfiltered reality, because honestly, the raw data is brutal.
It is a complete dimensional strike against these businesses. The initial picture is undeniably grim.
If you're an African factory owner, you are getting hammered. Let's translate the jargon here. The paper says overall efficiency is deeply negative compared to global peers.
Yeah, their overall efficiency, what economists call total factor productivity, is way lower. It means a worker there is generating significantly less value per day than a worker somewhere else.
Simply because of the friction in the system.
Right, and their export shares literally slashed in half. They export 50% less than their peers. Investment intensity is way down too.
So you picture this slightly chaotic, struggling factory, old machines, low output. The global market feels completely out of reach.
That's the baseline reality. That's what generated that 0.5% GDP growth.
Okay, let me play the skeptic for a second. If the raw data is this terrible, I mean, exports are cut in half, efficiency is in the basement, how can these researchers possibly claim they are doing well? Don't the numbers tell the ultimate truth?
The numbers tell the truth about the outcome, but they completely obscure the potential. Is the problem the people, or is the problem the roads?
Ah, the weighted vest scenario.
Exactly. If you watch a runner struggling and they're 20 meters behind, you think they're slow. But what if you notice they're wearing a 100-pound weighted vest?
You can't judge their speed until you take the vest off.
Right. So the researchers ran this massive statistical simulation, a regression analysis. They basically said, what happens if we magically give an African factory the exact same business environment as one in Latin America?
Level the playing field. Remove the noise.
Yeah, filter out the bad geography, the terrible infrastructure, the political monopolies.
Put both race cars on the exact same paved highway.
And when they finally cleared away the smoke and leveled that playing field, the results were they were absolutely staggering.
Total face slap moment.
Once you control the external environment, the worst students instantly become the valedictorians.
It's the Africa premium. They jump from dead last to first place.
It's incredible.
Ugh.
Their overall efficiency is suddenly higher than their peers. Their labor productivity leaps ahead.
Wait, I have the numbers here. Productivity growth rate is 12% higher. Sales growth is 12% higher. That is huge.
It's a massive pent-up miracle. It proves these African entrepreneurs are not cursed victims. They are ultra survivors.
Forged in an extreme environment.
Exactly. Surviving there requires such intense grit. If you give them a fair shot, they actually outperform the rest of the world.
So basically, because the game is played on hard mode, the players who manage to survive are actually better than everyone else.
That's exactly what the math validates. It's the ultimate underdog story.
Okay, my mind is blown. But if they're this intrinsically good, what exactly is making up that 100-pound vest? What is the hard mode holding them back?
You'd probably think it's paved roads, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Pave the roads, fix the continent. That's the standard charity pitch.
Wrong. The absolute #1 killer of African business isn't asphalt. It's the telecom void.
Wait, really? Telephones and internet?
Yes. The invisible web of telecom is the literal difference between life and death for these firms.
That's wild. The data proves that.
The data proves it explains a massive 114% of the efficiency disadvantage.
114%. So it explains more than the entire gap.
Yeah, and it explains an unbelievable 535% of the sales growth disadvantage.
535%. Okay, but why? Why is an internet connection more important than a road for a factory? You still have to move the physical product.
You do, but information is the lifeblood of trade. If you can't coordinate a supply chain, check global prices, or email a buyer, your factory might as well not exist.
Oh, I see. It's like trying to run Amazon, but you're only allowed to use carrier pigeons to take the orders.
Perfect analogy. No matter how good your product is, if it takes 3 weeks to confirm an order, the buyer goes to Vietnam instead. Telecommunications flow directly equals trade flow.
Build the digital roads first.
Okay.
But let's say you get the cell tower working. You call the buyer, they place a massive order. You still need money to buy the raw materials to make the stuff.
And in Africa, the banks are basically ghost towns for these factories.
Financial reefs, so they can't get loans.
Only 23% of African firms have a bank overdraft. That's way lower than global peers.
That sounds like a death sentence. If you tell a Western CEO to run a factory with no bank loan, they'd quit on the spot.
Right. But here is the shocker. Formal bank credit isn't the real driver of growth there anyway. The secret weapon is completely invisible to the formal economy.
Wait, if it's not the banks, where's the money coming from?
Trade credit. It's an entire system built on trust between suppliers.
Like an informal IOU.
Exactly. When the formal banking system fails or is just too corrupt, human beings adapt. You go to your supplier and say, give me the raw cotton today, I'll pay you when I sell the shirts next month.
So it's an entire economy running on a handshake and an IOU. That is incredibly risky, but also deeply, deeply human.
It is. And it works. This web of trust promotes growth far more effectively than formal bank loans do in these regions.
Because if you don't pay your supplier back, they don't take you to a slow, corrupt court. They just tell everyone in the network and your reputation is dead.
Exactly. Social collateral replaces legal collateral. It challenges this whole Western assumption that you have to copy Wall Street to succeed.
Sometimes community trust is just a better currency.
It is. But speaking of risk, what happens when the government itself is the problem?
Right, the politicians. We are always taught that we want political stability. Investors want a rock-solid government that doesn't change every 4 years.
But for African entrepreneurs, an unchanging government is an invisible lock on the door to growth.
The data uncovers a core rule here, right?
The longer a single political party stays in power, the slower a company's sales and productivity grow. Long-term party monopoly crushes dynamic efficiency.
Okay, let me push back on that with some classic economics. What about the stationary bandit theory?
Ah, Menker-Olson's theory.
Yeah. Basically, if a dictator knows they're going to be in power for 30 years, wouldn't they want the economy to grow so they can tax it long term? Like fatten the goose to get the golden eggs. Why does the data show the exact opposite?
The theory sounds totally logical, but the data proves it completely wrong in reality.
Why?
Because it underestimates accountability. Without political competition, without the threat of being voted out, the risk of unpredictable government interference skyrockets.
Oh, so if they can't lose an election, they can just change the rules tomorrow.
Exactly. They might seize your factory or give your contract to a crony. So as a business owner, why would you invest millions in new machinery?
You wouldn't. You'd keep your head down. You stay small on purpose so you don't become a target.
Precisely. Without accountability, the environment stagnates. Business owners lose all desire to invest in the future.
So bad politics is a literal curse on growth. But politicians usually don't blame themselves. They point at the map.
Oh, geography.
Huh.
The ultimate excuse.
Right. Africa is poor because too many countries are landlocked. We hear it a million times.
But the microdata gives a completely opposite answer. Geography is not destiny.
Wait, being landlocked doesn't matter.
At the micro level, for these factories, being landlocked has no statistically significant negative impact on their growth.
That is wild. I'm picturing a map of Africa with all the landlocked countries painted red, and you just stamp a giant gray irrelevant over them.
It's true. If the telecom is good and the business rules are fair, they can totally overcome being landlocked. Even having a small national population doesn't doom a factory.
What about past wars? Like domestic conflicts?
Even the impact of past conflicts washes out in the data when you control for the current business environment.
This just completely destroys the excuses politicians use. You can't just throw up your hands and say, well, we don't have a coastline, so we're doomed.
You really can't. And if we're busting myths, we have to talk about the most sensitive myth of all: tribal diversity.
Oh, man. For decades, ethnic and tribal fragmentation has been blamed as the root cause of all the tragedies there. Too many groups fighting over the pie.
That's the traditional view, yeah. But inside the walls of a factory, this exact same diversity mutates into a superpower.
A superpower? How?
It's a complete reversal of traditional thought. The data shows that ethnic fractionalization is significantly and positively correlated with factory efficiency and growth.
Wait, positive. The more fragmented, the better the factory does. That makes no sense.
It does when you think about those informal trust networks we talked about earlier.
Oh, because the formal courts are weak?
Right. So ethnic and tribal commercial networks step in to fill the void. If your factory has a diverse workforce, it connects you to multiple different, highly resilient secret networks of trade and trust.
Wow. So if you only hire from one tribe, you only have access to one network. But diversity gives you a bridge to everywhere.
Exactly. Diversity isn't just a corporate buzzword for these factories. It's a vital survival mechanism to bypass broken state institutions.
That is fascinating. The very thing people point to as a weakness is actually the glue holding the shadow economy together.
It's brilliant. But we do need to point out, this survival magic doesn't work everywhere. It matters exactly what kind of business you are running.
The sector split. Factories over offices?
Yes, the whole Africa premium we've been talking about. It only exists in manufacturing.
Wait, really? What about the service sector? Like a shiny, air-conditioned fintech office in Nairobi?
In the service sector, the advantage completely vanishes. They just perform averagely.
Why the split? Why do factories outperform the world, but offices don't?
It's about surface area. Manufacturing requires moving heavy physical goods, importing parts through corrupt ports, massive capital investments.
It's a giant target for government friction.
Exactly. It's a sniper rifle aimed directly at manufacturing. Services are less tangible. A consulting firm's assets are just laptops and human brains. It's easier to dodge the friction.
So because the factory has been surviving under way more brutal pressure, when you finally level the playing field, the factory just explodes with pent-up growth. The office just stays the same.
Precisely. Manufacturing is where the real comparative advantage is hiding.
Okay, so manufacturing is the key. But shouldn't they leapfrog straight into building microchips and high-tech gear?
Right.
Like skip the dirty industrial phase?
The data says absolutely stop fetishizing high-tech.
Really?
Yeah. If you want a true economic explosion in Africa, look at the industries the rest of the world considers low-end.
Technology ladder.
Exactly. The African advantage peaks perfectly in low-tech fields: food processing, textiles, garment making.
And high-tech.
As soon as they try to compete in complex chemicals or advanced machinery, their advantage plummets dramatically.
So they shouldn't try to run before they can walk.
Right. Embracing the low end is a strategic ladder. It builds the necessary institutional muscle. This is the exact same path Asia took out of poverty.
It's like going to the gym for the first time and trying to bench press 500 pounds because it looks cool. You can't. You'll crush yourself. You have to start with the fundamentals to build the muscle.
That's a perfect analogy. But building that muscle is agonizing when the local government is constantly draining your energy.
Which brings us to the daily pain points, the bribes and the scissors.
Yeah. Imagine being a CEO, and instead of innovating, you spend 29% of your mental energy just trying to make government officials go away.
29%? That invisible tax is strangling them.
And the actual financial cost is brutal. African firms pay an average of 2.9% of their total sales in bribes.
3% of top-line revenue? Just gone to corruption.
Vastly higher than the rest of the world. But there's another pain point that's arguably even worse.
The scissors. Inflexible labor laws.
Yes, the firing costs are astronomically high. It terrifies managers.
Wait, labor laws are bad, but laws designed to protect workers sound like a good thing.
Intentionally, yes. But behaviorally, it's a disaster. If a manager knows it is legally impossible or ruinously expensive to fire an underperforming worker if the market turns.
They just refuse to hire new workers in the first place.
Exactly. They stay artificially small. It's the ultimate paradox. The protection ensures nobody gets hired.
The bribes are a heavy iron shackle draining capital, and the labor laws are a pair of scissors actively cutting the growth line.
It's a brutal environment.
Now, hearing all this trauma, a cynical statistician is going to raise a massive red flag right here.
Survivor bias.
Exactly. If the environment is this deadly, only the absolute strongest mutants could possibly survive. Are these African firms only looking good on paper because the weak ones all died?
It's the most important critique. And the researchers ran a pressure test for this exact doubt.
How do you even test that?
They looked at the massive informal sector. In Africa, 42.3% of the economy is totally off the books.
Hidden in the shadows.
Right. So the skeptic says only the elite super firms register formally. But the researchers mathematically controlled for the size of the informal sector. They tested if only the elite were left.
Yeah.
Even when controlling for that extreme selection pressure, the Africa premium remained totally robust and unshakable.
Oh, wow. That is the ultimate mic drop from the researchers. They saw the biggest critique coming, ran the math, and proved the skeptics wrong.
It proves the vitality of the African entrepreneur is absolutely real. It's not a statistical illusion. The strength is in the soil.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for this deep dive. Africa does not need our pity. It does not need charity to fix a geographic curse that doesn't actually exist.
It just needs the chains taken off.
The researchers summarized it into 3 absolute pillars for the future, right?
Yes. First, telecom is the ultimate priority. Build the digital roads.
Second,
Protect and foster trade credit. Nurture those human trust networks instead of forcing formal banks.
and the third,
Break the political monopolies. Introduce real accountability.
there is no inherent African curse. The math proves it. Under the right conditions, they aren't just equal, they are better. The challenges are entirely man-made governance issues.
Man-made chains can be broken.
So we want to leave you, the listener, directly with this thought. Think about how global supply chains are fracturing and rebuilding right now all over the world. If these invisible man-made chains fall off with their built-in efficiency advantage, is Africa destined to become the next factory of the world?
The data says the potential is absolutely there.
And more importantly, what other assumptions about the developing world are you holding on to right now that are completely mathematically wrong?
It really makes you rethink everything.
When you see a struggling runner, are you just assuming they are slow? Or are you finally going to check if they are wearing a 100-pound weighted vest? Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the real data.